Hi everyone! Welcome to the fourth video of the Prompt Builder for Developers video series. In this video, you will learn how to debug and write tests for your prompt templates. My name is Alba Rivas and I am a developer advocate at Salesforce. Let's get into this. But first, if you have missed any episodes of this series, you can watch it entirely on this link. When you build prompt templates, there are several considerations to take into account at the time of debugging. The easiest way to debug how a resolved prompt template looks like and what the LLM returns is to use the preview area in Prompt Builder. From there, you can invoke the template by selecting its inputs and by clicking on Preview. Once the LLM returns a response, you'll be able to see the resolved prompt that will include the template instructions plus the full rounding logic resolved plus the LLM response. This will allow you to iterate on your prompt template and get more accurate results. But how can you debug your rounding logic further? Let's take a look at an example. How could you debug how the personalized guest experiences Apex class is executed when invoking this template? The rounding logic will be executed by the user who invokes the template. This means that you need to add a trace flag for that user so that the org starts to log their interactions. I recommend using VS Code or Code Builder to review or replay debug logs. To be able to download logs in VS Code, you need to activate logging through the Apex Replay debugger using this command. Once you do that, you can execute the prompt template so the grounding logic is executed and a debug log created. Finally, you download the logs using the Salesforce extensions for Visual Studio Code commands or the Salesforce CLI. You can then examine the log, reading it yourself or using extensions such as Apex Log Analyzer. And you can also use the Apex Replay debugger to replay that log in an interactive debugging experience, adding breakpoints and checkpoints. Learn more about the Apex Replay debugger in this link. You can use the same debugging technique if the grounding logic is implemented using a flow data provider. The default debug functionality for prompt-triggered flows is not available yet, but it's coming really soon. And lastly, what about debugging prompt templates invocation logic, such as a piece of Apex code that uses the Connect API to invoke a prompt template? In that case, you can debug the logic by adding trace flags for the user who invokes the Apex code, same as you would do with regular Apex logic. Now let's talk about how to write tests for your templates. Writing Apex tests for your rounding logic is straightforward, as you just need to define the inputs that the template expects and call the invocable method from Apex to check the result, as I am doing here. And what about testing Apex invocation logic for prompt templates? Because Connect API methods cannot be used in test context, and because you really don't want to wait for a response from the large language model in test context, you will need to mock the invocation. I've mocked the Connect API calls by creating a wrapper class that calls the real Connect API and a mock implementation of that class that fakes the call and returns a simple text. This is the class that calls the Connect API for real, and this is the mock that returns a fake response on test context. Then I refactor the class that invokes the template to receive a wrapper instance as a parameter. That way I can inject the wrapper dynamically, and this is known as dependency injection. In my production code, I pass in the real implementation of the wrapper, as you see here. And when running tests, I pass the wrapper mock. The mock won't call the real Connect API and will return a fake text instead. Thus, I can assert the result and make sure that the tested class is calling the Connect API wrapper correctly. Note that there are many approaches and libraries to implement mocks, but if you are interested in using this one, you can take a deeper look at the code and also at the code from the previous example in this link. Lastly, if you plan to test or evaluate how accurate LLM responses are, know that the typical if this then that pattern won't be useful, as LLMs return different responses each time. In contrast, you will need to write tests that evaluate the accuracy of your prompts, such as their level of hallucination, their levels of toxicity, bias, and more. There are some open source libraries and frameworks that can help you with that. And on top of this, Safe Harbor, know that Salesforce is building a native evaluation framework that you will be able to use in Prompt Builder and also from the API. In this video, you have seen some tips and considerations to take into account when debugging and writing tests for your prompt templates related logic. You can try Prompt Builder for free by requesting a 5-day trial org as part of the new Quick Start Prompt Builder module on Trailhead. And this is the first resource that I am listing here. On top of this, I leave you some more videos and blogs that will help you get started with Prompt Builder. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel to receive notifications of more videos like this one. Thank you and see you in the next video.